Hello again, I am Blunty and this is World Heroes Perfect. It originally saw light of day in 1995 on the Neo Geo MVS arcade cabinet, and it is the final title of the franchise. It, much like King of Fighters 98, which I also just covered in another video, comes from a time where these sprite-based fighters were in their prime. The good ones were very, very good, and remained good even by today's standards. There's 16 characters, all based somewhat loosely on historical figures, including a Rasputin character who is wildly, wonderfully, hilariously flamboyant, a stereotype of an especially feminine man, a bit on the nose by today's standards maybe, but I still find it quite funny indeed for its kitsch value. Every character also has a special move that can be activated by pressing the A, B and C buttons at the same time, which is part of the reason that again, like King of Fighters, the button assignments seem quite bizarrely mapped. But in practice, it's so you can more easily trigger the special moves and combos. You can reassign them if you don't like it. These special moves are easy to activate, which means you spend less time thinking about or trying to perfectly execute a button combo, and more time thinking about the tactical timing of your ultimate move. And aside from some usual offensive specials, several characters have defensive special attacks instead, like catching and returning projectile attacks, or a counter move that works from behind a blocking stance. You can get away with some level of button mashing to learn your way around the game, but like many fighters that existed on the Neo Geo platform, it really wants you to think more technically, more tactically, and it will just kick your face in if you get a bit lazy about it. It may, at first glance, seem to be yet another Street Fighter Me Too game, but it plays quite a bit deeper than the original Street Fighter 2 ever did 4 years before it. And as with King of Fighters 98, you can pull up a special options menu to change various underlying settings, like the border and frame of the 4x3 image on the Switch's 16:9 output, and also you can add some hideous filters attempting to fake scan lines for gullible people who were never there in '94, and for some reason actually think this is how games looked back then. They did not. And just like King of Fighters 98, there's a global online leaderboard for you competitive types. Control-wise, the Pro Controller really comes into its own here, either with the D-pad for that snappy, sharp digital control, which works very nicely indeed, but the thumbstick also works pretty well too, far better than I had expected, and in fact I found it more comfortable to use, and despite feeling inherently sloppier because of the physics of how a thumbstick moves, I felt totally in control, able to pull off the combos for special moves with ease. In handheld mode, I once more found the directional buttons are just no substitute at all for a D-pad. They are truly and completely terrible. It is a miserable experience trying to use them as a D-pad. The Joy-Con thumbstick, however, works well enough, both in docked and undocked modes. As you may assume, it's not quite as good as the Pro Controller, but it's enough for some acceptable portable fun. The two-player arrangement for Joy-Cons works okay-ish. At the very least, you and your opponent will have the same handicap of the weird little controllers and cramped buttons, so it's still a fair fight, even if you won't fight quite as well as you may with the Pro Controller. All in all, if you're looking for a classic 2D fighter from the glory days of such things, both King of Fighters 98 and World Heroes Perfect offer similar but quite distinct experiences. Newbies to this era of game may find World Heroes Perfect easier to come to grips with, a little bit more accessible, but King of Fighters 98 is the superior technical fighter. I'd rather strongly suggest you buy both. I did. No regrets here. I love me some old school fighters, even if I never really got that good at most of them, I still love playing them. However, there is one I am pretty good at. Please, Capcom, bring X-Men vs. Street Fighter over to the Switch. Please, I'll pay anything. Well, not anything, but, you know. Meanwhile though, World Heroes Perfect and King of Fighters 98 are going to keep me quite amused whenever I'm in the mood for a classic 2D fighter. Thanks for watching, I am Blunty, and I'll catch you next time.